Hi, welcome to day 12 of our Wellness Bootcamp for Quarantine. Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Minke. This is Minke Wellness. And today we have, we're going a slightly different direction. We're still talking about wellness overall. And one of the things that can be very challenging in the wellness category is chronic pain, former injuries, inflammatory triggers, things that are already present in our bodies. And they're more chronic. It's something we have to manage over time, and these things can really impact our wellness. So let's talk about this and so what kinds of things can we do to intervene in these body issues that already exist, pre-existing injuries. Now, if you're in perfect shape and have never had any kind of injury, surgery, or anything like that, then fabulous. Then get what you can out of this from a standpoint of inflammation, how to control inflammation and factors that are involved in that. But for the rest of us who have a few things to manage, let's talk about managing this. Now, in the context of wellness, chronic pain, low-grade processes that are just they eat away at our overall wellness. They increase inflammation in the body. They tend to be targets of inflammation. In other words, when our inflammation, overall global inflammation goes up, those are the weak spots. Those are the spots that the inflammation jumps on. And so there's a number of factors in terms of what can we do? How do we intervene in this? So first, let's look at the inflammatory system and the inflammation processes in the body. And then let's look at what kinds of interventions we can do through our wellness strategy and the 4 essentials for life. What kinds of things can we bring to bear? What tools do we have that can help us out? So I'll just give some personal examples. I know everyone's different. Everyone has different things: back problems, spine problems, joint problems. I'm going to pick something that for me has been chronic. I did a construction early on and really hurt my wrists and ended up with a lot of carpal tunnel type stuff where I would go numb just driving. My hands would go numb. And when I started getting body work, when I started receiving body work and getting my body more aligned, and then a lot of that went away. Recently, because of this quarantine, I've been doing a lot more of the kind of construction type stuff, building a shed for the chickens, and because we got chickens, and so that has kind of caused a recurrence of my old problems. And this is kind of these things that, like I said, they creep up. They don't ever really go away, and it's frustrating, and it can really wear us down. So for me, I've got this issue going on with my forearms, and back somewhere into my elbow. And okay, now, so what's going on there? And part of it is an inflammatory process. Like I said, once the tissue has been injured, once layers of tissue have I don't know whether they've gotten fibrotic and they've just had a state change such that scar tissue is built into there, such that when inflammation goes up, or when they get pushed on a little bit, they're the first things to go. And so let's talk about that inflammation. And now, right now, I've actually started getting, and I'll talk a little bit about this tomorrow, I've started into a little bit of cleansing as a result of doing some of this breathing and doing a little bit more water and doing some more supplementation because of this boot camp. Because I've been doing this, then my body actually has started into moving some cleansing. So cleansing can be a source of inflammation. In other words, the body starts to flush toxins out, and those toxins, as they come out, end up increasing the inflammation as they leave, which that's usually a good thing. We're kind of like, yay, the toxins are leaving, but the skid marks on the way out can be problematic and create more issues. So one cause of inflammation is this process of flushing toxins out. So if you've noticed that, we'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. But we have potentially inflammatory processes that are triggered by toxicity. So this gets into our, first do no harm, or stop poisoning ourselves. And when we do stop poisoning ourselves, the body starts to cleanse, and that cleansing process can include some inflammation, and that's something we just deal with. And there's lots of strategies, and we'll talk more about that tomorrow. What we eat can have dramatic impacts on our overall inflammation. So the white flour, white sugar, partially hydrogenated vegetable oil, these are the things that cause inflammation. And bad quality animal products, cheese and ground meat that's bad quality, these are all things that increase inflammation in the body, and they're hard to digest, so the digestive system gets irritated and then it ramps up. And so sometimes you can tell this if you're paying attention, and you wake up with a bad day, or you had a bad night and you wake up in the morning with that chronic thing that why all of a sudden does my hip hurt? It hasn't hurt in a while and now all of a sudden it's hurting. I must have slept wrong. Or what did you eat yesterday? I mean, are you really having a food hangover rather than, something that is, my life is falling apart because my hip is hurting? In other words, there's usually some factors that go into the overall inflammation, and those can be mitigated by making different choices, but after you've made the bad choices, they can be mitigated by taking digestive enzymes, for example. Now, I'm not going to go into all of that. Like I said, we just have a short lesson here. But so the other thing is drinking more water, right? We've talked about this, but getting dehydrated will increase our inflammation and pain. So we definitely want to get that. But water is not enough. We have to actually get that circulation. We have to get that water. We have to turn the water into blood flow, and the blood flow into the tissue. So if I'm so tight, and this is what's happening for me, if I'm so tight, I've built up tension around a joint, so tight that it's basically cutting off circulation, now I've got acids building up in the muscle system, and that process is going to be an inflammatory process that I can't just drink water and make it go away. So I'm going to have to intervene a little differently. And here's where stretching and massage comes in for something like this, where it's more structural. Okay, so in a structural problem, we do a structural solution. And so doing some stretching and massage is not rocket science, finding those ropey muscles and working on those and just pushing on them a little bit. Don't beat yourself up, but we have a class called Better Back Rub, and massage is not rocket science, but there are some ways that you can interact with the tissue that can get you a little bit better result. And it's even for self-massage. Most of the time, we have availability self-massage. We don't always have someone else. Now, right now, with all the quarantining going on, you're not seeing your regular massage therapist, so it's very possible that even your maintenance that you've been able to, or in the past been able to do, see your chiropractor, your massage therapist, do whatever, and now you can't. And so we're already starting to experience the body pains going up. So it's even more important to watch out for those things that are going to trigger the inflammation. So watch out for dietary factors, and you're going to have to make that decision on your own. I know for me, different things that really trigger me, but they're not the same for everyone. So some of the things are pretty common: white flour, white sugar, partially hydrogenated vegetable oil, chemicals in general, preservatives, etc. But there are going to be things that are on your list that are particular to you. And some of the things that come to mind are wine, alcohol in general can create a lot of inflammation, the sulfites and stuff like that in alcohol. So there's a lot of different things that you're going to have to find the ones that are really big issues for you. Some of them some of you out there know right now, you're like, oh, I know I really shouldn't have as much ice cream as I'm having. Well, then work on cutting back on the ice cream or managing to balance that. I don't know if we have the winter wellness class that is a really good one to help manage that kind of thing. And so there's a number of resources available for larger discussions on that. I don't have time for that here. But what can we do to enhance our massage? And like I said, we can go in and I'll work on my muscle. You can, if you watch me throughout the day, I'm grabbing this, I'm squeezing it, trying to get that to stretch. Or what I'm doing is that's a stretch. Massage at this form is a stretch, and I'm trying to get circulation to get in there. Well, I can use essential oils to enhance that massage and get circulatory penetration with the help of the essential oils. And here's where our essential oil for today, our blend, just is fantastic. PanAway is a fantastic blend. It has helichrysum, clove, peppermint, wintergreen. It is just a phenomenal blend for helping with this exact type of thing. I think that's all it is. I was right on the mark. Hey, I got one right finally. Wintergreen, helichrysum, clove, and peppermint. To me, it smells like licorice. So what I'm going to do, and you saw Amy do this on one of our videos where we were talking about the real life stuff, where she put the respiratory oil I think it was the raven on the chest, and then a warm wet washcloth. I'm going to show you that again because I'm going to do that for my elbow. And here's where I'm going to take 5 or so drops of this blend. It's fabulous. It smells like licorice to me. I really love the smell of it. So here's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's whatever. It's not magic. And you notice it's a good enough puddle that I'm just going to go ahead and spread it right on the joint, on the stuff. It's the forearm and the elbow for me. And then I've already got I prepared this just a warm wet washcloth, and I'm going to drape that over. And I'm not using any diluting oil. I'm not using anything, but that warm and wet, the wet is going to push that in there. So I've already kind of warmed up the tissue with a little bit of massage. You saw me just doing that. I've been doing that a little bit before I started the video. And then now I've got this on here, and this will push that essential oil deeper into that tissue and have a great assistance to the benefits of the massage. The massage is really there to open up the tissue, to get the circulation to move in there so that the circulation can wash the inflammation out. It's very important that tissue doesn't just stay stagnant. And that's where you get these accumulation of these inflammatory factors. Inflammation is a natural process. It's a good, healthy process. We would die without inflammation. The inflammation in the different body systems use inflammation. The digestive system uses inflammation, and the immune system uses inflammation. So I don't advocate for an anti-inflammatory medication, because shutting down those cellular processes of inflammation is not a healthy thing. That's not a good thing. We want healthy inflammation. We just want to be able to manage those. So it makes sense on a local topical area to help manage inflammation with massage and enhance that with essential oils. Now, if you're doing this with me, you'll start to feel the heat really coming up. You're like, wow, that's really penetrating. And all of a sudden it's that, that same icy hot kind of feeling where you're really getting that penetration of the essential oil deep in. And that's that clove and wintergreen are those very hot oils. And so those starting to really heat up. Now, is the skin going to be probably a little bit red when I take this off? Yeah. And if you want to dilute to protect the skin, if your particular area that you're working with the oil is sensitive, the skin is sensitive, then yes, put some diluting oil to protect that response. But for me, I'm just I'm going after it, so no big deal. And yeah, it's going to be a little bit red. I'm not worried about it. If I did this 4 times a day, every day for several days, putting this much oil on and really getting it in there, it might create a problem in terms of the irritation to the skin. So that's where I might be more diligent with putting some diluting oil. For a once or twice a day thing, probably not going to accumulate any kind of irritation. So if I was covering more surface area, I would go ahead and dilute it so I could get that to spread around and cover more ground. If I was trying to cover both shoulders and up in here, which I probably should do, and get all of this, because this problem is not just isolated to my arm, it's probably all the way up in terms of how I hold my whole shoulder system, and that's all contributing to the tension that's reaching down. So just something to consider as you start asking the question, here's where the pain is, it hurts down here, but there might be more going on than just that local area. So that's part of structural bodywork thought process, that there's the actual causal component, that hips being misaligned might be actually causing the back problem, for example. So I don't have room to talk about that here, but just an understanding that a full body massage, even if you're just talking about problems with your forearm, with your elbow, or problems with just the one part of your back, a full body massage that includes the arms and legs and chest might still be useful and part of the package to actually get all of that muscle tension system to calm down, universally, the whole body to calm down a notch. Sometimes you just work on one little area and the whole body needs to calm down. So again, we're coming back to just to discuss again that the concept here of using some massage to help get circulation and stretch into the tissue so that tissue can open up and get that inflammation washed out. Now, it makes sense that I don't want to keep adding more inflammation, but and so that's where you're watching your diet and things like that. So all these factors can come into play when we're dealing with something that's more chronic. There are supplements that we can take to support the, helping healthy inflammation. Young Living has Agile Ease, Sulfurzyme, BLM. There's a number of different products like that. These are various capsule-based, supplement-based products that can help be additional support as we start talking about how do we maintain healthy inflammation, as opposed to trying to shut down inflammation. That's not what I'm talking about here. We do not want to shut down inflammation at a cellular level. We just want to maintain a healthy, at a local level, this particular area, we want to make sure that this has a healthy inflammatory system in place. And so that's where opening it up, getting that circulation. So a little bit of self-massage today, using your PanAway oil blend as an enhancement to that self-massage. Happy wellness, one day at a time.